What's going on, guys? I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. In this video, I'm going to show you how to transition to the next level of the game. So the first thing you need to do is actually make the second level. So if you go to your project at the bottom, you should have a scene somewhere inside of your project. And if you find that scene, you could press Ctrl D to duplicate the scene, and then you could rename it to whatever you want to rename it. So let me make level 3 for right now, because I've already made level 2. If you double click on the level, it will open that scene inside of your hierarchy on the left. And then we need to change pretty much everything to make this work. Okay, so in your new scene that you've just made, we're gonna delete everything except for the level. So you can go ahead and select literally everything except for the level and go ahead and delete it. Now the reason we're doing this is because we're going to take everything from the first level, and anything that's reusable, like the character and the camera and the map and all of the UI and everything else, is all reusable. The only thing that's really changing is the rooms inside of the level. So our next level will have different rooms, but all the core mechanics and all the same things are going to apply to it as well. So there's a way that we cannot destroy things when we load. So when we load this level, it won't destroy those specific things, and we're going to have to set that up. All right, so the next thing that we're going to set up is, if you go to the file menu at the top, you can go to the build settings, and we want to add this new level to our list of scenes in the build. So if we click add open scenes, it will go ahead and add it at the bottom. The order of this is important, so make sure that you have it in the order that you want the levels to load. At some point, we will be naming the levels, and we will load them via the name, because it could be different things. Like maybe if you do a certain thing in the first level, you go to a different second level, so you don't always just go through the levels one by one. Or maybe if you unlock a certain secret in the game, like for example, in The Binding of Isaac, if you kill or if you do like the knife challenges or the knife quests or whatever, you get the knife and you go through like a different door. Maybe you want it to lead to the womb instead of the corpse. So or the corpse instead of the womb, or whatever, I don't really remember. But anyway, the point is that eventually we're going to be loading this by name, but for right now we're not. So make sure you put this in the order that you want them to load. Okay, and here we are in the player movement script. And when our character collides with something named that contains the name portal graph inside of it, which the portal graph does contain the name portal graph inside of it, it will check if the alive particle count is greater than 0. The alive particle count is because like our portal doesn't actually start playing until after the boss dies, and that rectangle box in the middle of the room shoots and hits the door. And when it hits the door, it starts this visual effect. So we're checking if the visual effect has alive particles, and if it does, and we walk into this, it will load the next level. Okay, so in the load next level method, we're going to clear some of the variables that we had before we load the next scene. So we want to clear the rooms, because the rooms is attached to a static class called level, and the static classes are not affected by you loading a new scene. So if you load the new scene and you add a bunch of new rooms to your list of rooms and you haven't cleared the other rooms, it could random between the rooms that are on the last floor, and you won't be able to load them because they're not there anymore. They're deleted, right? So because it's a different scene now, if the scene is not open, you can't load objects from a scene that's not open. So what we're doing is we're getting rid of the rooms and we're clearing the forces on game objects. Our character is using a character controller and not a rigid body, so we're using a static class for that, and these forces will carry over to the next scene. This will prevent your character, like if you get hit by the boss as you kill him and you go through the portal, you might go flying off in outer space, so this will prevent that from happening. And then we're adding an event to the on scene loaded. So this will happen after the scene loads. So there's certain things that you want the scene to load first, and then these things happen after that. And then this is the standard command to just load the next scene in the build index. So we're getting the current build index, and then we're incrementing it by 1, and then we're loading the next scene. This is the part that we will eventually at some point replace with the name of the scene. You can load it by the name as well. You don't have to load it by the index, but for right now, this is the easiest way to do it. Okay, and before we get to the on-scene loaded method that gets called when the next scene loads, this is attached to one of my main scripts. So this initialized player class is attached to my player, and this is the start method for that class. So right at the very beginning of the game, we're saying that we don't want these objects to destroy when we load a new scene. So we don't want the audio game object. So that's this audio player object here. So we have two audio sources on it. One is for the music and one is for the sound effects. We don't need to be creating a new one of those because we're just going to be reusing it anyway. We don't want the main game object. So the main is including my player, the global volume, the lighting, and the camera. All of these things can just be carried on to the next scene. You need to especially bring your player to the next scene because you might have picked up like a staff or a helmet or some type of thing that visibly changes your player. And if you have your player in the next scene and it reloads him and you've copy pasted him, he'll lose all the stuff that he's wearing, and then you would have to like re-equip it or re-enable it or something along those lines. So we're keeping the main one. This won't get destroyed on load. We're keeping the user interface, and then and we're keeping the audio. So we're keeping the audio, the main folder, and the user interface. I think we're also keeping this A-star method. So if we go into the grid script, I think I've also declared this to not be destroyed on load. So, and also the item and shop manager. So the A-star grid thing, when this is awakened, we're setting this to be not destroyed when we load, because the A-star algorithm is still the same on the new floor. It's still just casting a bunch of rays downwards and creating a grid on the level. It's not any different. So there's no reason to load a new copy of it. And then also for the shop manager, we don't want this to destroy on load. Now I think that we've put this in the item manager as well. Hang on, let me just find the item manager. So okay, so inside of the item manager, we've put don't destroy on load for the game object, and we've attached both the item manager and the shop manager to the same game object. So this game object will not get destroyed. And also this drop manager, I think I did that in here as well. So don't destroy on load. So the only thing that's new in the new level is the actual room. So this level folder, this is getting regenerated, but everything else is not. Everything else is just going to be using the exact same stuff that we already had. Okay, and this is the final thing. So this on scene loaded happens after the new level is loaded. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stop the because when we kill the boss, a different audio music is playing for like the boss being dead, and so we want this to go back to playing the main theme. Now this is probably going to be different for each level and that kind of thing, so we'll have to worry about that part when we get to it. We can have different events for different levels loading. We're just doing the very second level for right now, and so then we stop it and we set the clip to be this the main clip, and then we start playing the main clip. We're regenerating the map, so we made a cheat earlier. So let's press F12 on this. We have a cheat, a quote-unquote cheat, to regenerate the map because I didn't want to keep having to restart the game while I was, like, in order for me to get a new copy of the map. Sometimes the map wasn't generating all the things that I wanted, or I was looking for certain rooms or certain things. So I created a cheat that does this. So all we have to do is call this method that I've already made that will regenerate the map, and this will have the new rooms from the new level inside of it. Then we are getting new shop items and item room items. So we're just calling the start method of the shop manager. This will get a new items for the shop. Then we're calling this pixel transition. We covered this in a previous video where we transition using like the pixelation effect. I think that was actually the very last video I did. So if you go back one video, you'll be able to find out how we did that. And then we're stopping the player controller, because if you don't stop the player controller before you move the position, it will teleport you back to where you were. And then we're setting the position to be above the map so we fall into the next level. Then we're re-enabling it so we can move again. This is initializing this. So this is adding the shop items back. This adds the item room item. Again, we went through all of these methods in previous videos, so if you're new here, you could go through the series and find these videos where we made these. And then finally, we're enabling the doors. So if we get put into a start room that only has a room above it, there should only be a door at the top. So this will fix the doors in the start room to be the doors that should be there. All right, guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below if you have any ideas or suggestions for the game. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.